You only need to know me. I will be the one.
The most recent chapter seems to confirm something One Piece readers have long been wondering about. How do you defeat the Gorosei? How do you defeat God's Knights? How do you defeat God himself? The supposed One Piece God, the so-called creator, Imu Nerona. Both the Gorosei and God's Knights share a gift of immortality which seems to be the mark of the gods. They bear the mark of the Abyss, or satanic pentagram seal, otherwise described as a magic circle. Their immortality and Delphi powers appearing to come directly from Imu Nerona in some cases. They have given up their humanity, sold their soul to what could be the One Piece Sea Devil, selling your soul to the devil, in exchange for the power of pretend gods. So how do you defeat a god? The answer is obvious. It was already revealed to us. The answer is will. Watch till the end and you'll understand why. But first, as many of you have noticed, for the last half a year I've largely been away from YouTube, and I've always intended to be a part of the community for that, consistently. There are many reasons for my absence. Some of you have probably heard of the health issues I've had, and I've moved into a new place that needs some work done on the studio to improve quality. It's been a problem for the last half year as well. But as of May, I'm probably back for sure this time. I've also been planning some new channels that I know many of you will enjoy. So if you are a supporter of the channel and want to help out, feel free to make a donation to my PayPal account in the description box below. Or join my Patreon for my new Red Piece podcast, where I will be analyzing popular theories from your favorite One Piece content creators and covering chapters and having other discussions, as well as contributing my own theories that will exclusively appear there. Anyone that donates will get a big thank you from me in the next video. And so let me give a big thank you to Daskmania or Rasmus for the $100 donation a week or two ago. I was really surprised by that. I appreciate that, my guy. I also appreciate the kind words under my post about being in the hospital again. But don't worry to those that weren't aware of some health issues I've had in the last half year, like I said. I think things are fully back to normal now. In the words of the only red hair we acknowledge around here, let's go claim the One Piece. We're back at it. Anyways, why is will the answer to this persistent, immortal zombie demon problem the Straw Hats and others have been dealing with when it comes to the Gorosei and God's Knights? How did Scopper injure Shepherd Sommers, and how does Scopper know this weakness to God's Knights and likely the Gorosei too? Well, let's answer the last part first. God's Knights were present on God Valley. If you remember, God's Knights fought against the pirates that raided the island under Fiegel and Garling at the time. God's Knights likely fought against the strongest of the Roger and Rock's pirates. They were likely immortal back then too, with maybe the exception of Garling, who was aged. Garling might have 2 devil fruits now, honestly. Like his son Fiegel and Shamrock, Fiegel and Garling might have one for his sword, and one for himself to stop himself from going from red hair to gray hair to his deathbed by old age. That's the only way that Garling could possibly be immortal now like the other Gorosei. Or maybe the Fiegelin family has some ancient bloodline or family pact of not selling your soul to the devil, not eating devil fruits, solely relying on their haki or will, and at most using a weapon that has been paired with a devil fruit. To fight God's Knights on God Valley, where some might have lost and died to the Roger and Rock's pirates, I would imagine the weakness of God's Knights was already understood from previous encounters or discovered for the first time during the God Valley battle. This recent chapter, Scopper does say it's been a while to Sommers, and Sommers immediately recognizes Gaban and expresses fear of this renewed encounter, as if they had fought before. Unless Gunko is extremely broken, unless Loki sides with God's Knights to save the Elbaf giant children. Given Sommers' reaction, I honestly expect now Shamrock to return, because God's Knights won't stand a chance against a tag team of Scopper, Luffy, and Zoro, who can also use advanced Conqueror's haki if that is what Scopper used to permanently injure Sommers. Sommers' arm or hand was cut cleanly off, and so far has not grown back, though the man with thorns and vines can likely use those thorns and vines to reconnect his missing limb. But added to that could be Sanji, who is to Luffy what Scopper was to Roger, just as Rayleigh and Zoro share a clear character parallel. Before touching on the advanced Conqueror's idea, let's consider that there are other advanced applications of haki we have yet to see, because they are largely unnecessary unless you're going up against opponents like the Gorosei, God's Knights, and Imu. We need to return to the breath and voice of all things. Scopper has shown signs of one or maybe both, like Zoro and Luffy. Zoro's breath of all things, Luffy's voice of all things, to feel and hear, to sense the very soul or essence of a thing before you, around you, the true nature of their being. Given the corrupted souls or strange dark haki of those or these gods, knights, and Gorosei, it could be that this is what Scopper is targeting, not the body, but the spirit, or something else that is on that deeper level. I'd imagine this is the level you'd have to be at to fight actual gods, or those claiming to be gods, and we kind of did see this with Enel, who we'll get to shortly. Something else we are left to wonder about is how Zoro defeated Ryuma. I've mentioned this in another video about the Gorosei's Elder Haki, which you check out if you haven't seen it already. But how Zoro defeated Ryuma, unless I missed Oda disclosing it. Zoro defeated an undead, immortal zombie samurai, which is how God's Knights are characterized, minus the samurai part. Zoro seemed to cut at Ryuma's very own warrior soul and set it aflame. Was this also the Breath of All Things, like his fight with Mr. One? Although I regard the Breath of All Things to be somewhat similar to just anybody using Haki, but it could be deeper than that. The breath or voice of souls. Just like the rocks, trees, and steel have breath and possibly voice. The stone poneglyphs carry a voice even. Maybe the voice of the soul or souls who left those inscriptions. The voice of a century, a kingdom, and a people lost to time. The Void Century. We do need some explanations as to why Luffy couldn't defeat the Gorosei with his advanced Conqueror's Haki, or advanced Haki in general, during Egghead Island. Why was Joy Boy's centuries-old Haki, which Joy Boy described as his most powerful Haki, to the ancient giant robot, Emmet? Why was that advanced Conqueror able to defeat the Gorosei, knocking them out of their devil or demonic transformations, bypassing the Abyss Seals, canceling their power similar to Shanks canceling the power of Admiral Greenbull, mind you, and so another connection to Joy Boy's ability, sending them back to the Holy Land, and seemingly injuring Imu Nerona from such a distance too, causing Imu to kneel, fitting given its conquerors, so Imu symbolically bowed to the true king, Joy Boy. I picture Luffy doing the same in the end, Luffy's conquerors conquering Imu, the king of the world kneeling before the Pirate King. So it might not be advanced conquerors. I know some people don't want Scopper or Sanji to get it, whereas others do. We're going to find out very soon, aren't we? But let's consider that advanced conquerors might be key, the weakness of God's Knights, the Gorosei, and Imu. When we first meet Scopper, Luffy pretty much confirms him as Sanji's future because in chapter 1139, Scopper describes himself as the preacher of love, and he also mentions that love is free. Sanji most recently mentioned the power of love on Egghead Island when blocking an attack from the Seraphim, without taking any damage. I've said this verbatim before, but it's worth repeating. Love is a force, a power, it's free, and requires no energy. Can love give you a stronger offense and defense? Is love somehow a stat or power booster? Scopper and Sanji are strong lovers or big believers in the power of love. There is a saying that love conquers all. Love conquers all. Key word there is conquers. Love has a strong association or correlation to will, and so love could tie into Haki and the spirit in some way. Maybe this is how you harm God's Knights and the Gorosei. Maybe love or will is what is needed to defeat Imu Nerona. When it came to Enel, attacking his actual body did nothing since Enel was a Logia, a lightning man. Haki was necessary to reach his spirit. Without Haki, Luffy had to rely on the fact that his Del Fruit contained properties rubber, a natural counter to the power of Enel. Essentially, Enel's only weakness back then was something born of nature to counter his own nature. Two naturally opposing elements. So could it be that something naturally opposes whatever allows the Gorosei and God's Knights to regenerate? And so you could argue God's Knights and the Gorosei are similar to Logia, but maybe slightly different. How do you stop them from regenerating? What is the source of their regenerative ability? The regeneration comes from immortality, and both are not a part of their Del Fruits or demon powers. That power of regeneration or immortality directly comes from Imu Nerona, or maybe the devil powers go hand in hand with immortality, as all of it comes from Imu. None of it is fully owned by God's Knights or the Gorosei, so cutting off that connection to Imu, or whatever makes it possible for them to regenerate is key, the weak point of these enemies, these beings. Logias like Enel are surprised when they are permanently injured too, by the way, so there's a parallel here, although I'm sure it's slightly different. It is also worth pointing out that given that it could just be advanced Haki instead, since we need to find a way for Sanji and others, the other Straw Hats, to also be able to fight God's Knights and the Gorosei, since I doubt everybody's going to have advanced conquerors, that just maybe there is a flaw in the regenerative ability of these Gorosei and God's Knights that only advanced observation Haki can detect, and so Sanji will naturally be able to catch up to Scopper. Luffy, being a Haki master, should be able to do so as well, and just maybe Zoro will finally open his eye, if that eye is going to have an advanced observation Haki quality to it. And so currently, Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji have all been removed from the battle against God's Knights. They were critical to fighting the Gorosei on Egghead Island, but to no avail. And so it's likely when they fight against God's Knights here on Elbaf, they will remember their struggles against the Gorosei, but this time with the help of Scopper Gaban as a new type of Haki master, similar to Rayleigh or Mihawk or Ivankov. Scopper will teach Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji how to advance their observation, their Haki in general, to not only detect, but attack the weak spot of the Gorosei if that's how you do it. But even then, it does seem like an advanced Haki like advanced Conquerors will be necessary to actually defeat them, not just stop their regeneration. Nami pointed out Luffy was the natural enemy of Skypia's false god, the natural enemy of lightning given Luffy was a rubber man. Many parallels have been drawn between Skypia, Enel and the Holy Land and Imu. We are told by others that the Will of D is special, that those that carry this will, and so perhaps the will itself, are natural enemies of the gods, the celestial dragon gods of the One Piece world, and so the Will of D is a natural enemy to God's Knights, the Gorosei, and King Imu just as rubber was to lightning. Luffy's unique Will of D, therein Luffy's unique will or Haki, will prove to be the key to defeating Imu maybe. Why is it called the Will of D? I dropped what might be one of the best if not the darkest Will of D video on YouTube last year, and shared my belief that the Will of D might just be the will of a person that existed in the past. The will of Joy Boy, the will of someone that falsely was believed to be a devil of the sea, for standing up against the real sea devil, or now God. For opposing God, you are deemed a devil. With inversion and the world turned upside down, obviously those roles would be reversed. What if the Will of D refers to the will of the devil? Turning the world upside down again, the disciples of Joy Boy experienced a divine departure from the Holy Land, cast down to the blue sea. The script of God and the devil has been inverted. Still, whoever plays the role of a devil, it was the will of the devil, the desire of the devil, to replace or take the throne of God. Now Imu is the king of the world. Imagine how strong his Conqueror's Haki must be, how strong his Haki in general is, how strong the will of Imu had to be to achieve all of this, and sit atop the red line as king of the world. Especially when we go back to the words of Mihawk, as Mihawk has been compared to Imu as a final strongest obstacle on the path to Zoro and Luffy's dreams respectively. Mihawk said the path to becoming Pirate King was even harder than surpassing him. Pirate King, and so maybe also King of the World. In the world of Imu Narona, Dracula Mihawk is also only a little frog in the well. And given the events of Elbaf, there's a chance Shanks might return or do something. I'm only mentioning Shanks because any talk about Haki is relevant to him. Shanks' Haki was compared to the Joy Boy level Haki that took out all 5 Gorosei at once, bringing Imu to his knees. If that's the case, Oda is basically saying Shanks could do that and more to the Gorosei and Imu on his own. Not that Shanks could beat them all together alone, nor that Shanks could beat Imu, but his Haki, his spirit, Shanks' presence and will are overwhelming when compared to other characters in the story. Shanks' Haki could foreshadow how strong Luffy's Conqueror's Haki will be by the end of the story when he goes up against Imu himself. 2 kings, Pirate King versus King of the World. In the words of Kaido, if the world doesn't need 2 dragons, it certainly doesn't need 2 kings. One must bow to the other. When discussing the various powerful enemies Luffy would face as he sailed the oceans, the 4 seas, Rayleigh hinted that to become Pirate King, one must conquer the very sea itself. Don Chinjiao told us that the Pirate King, or the King of all pirates, can be thought of as someone that conquers other conquerors, that to become Pirate King, you must rise above the rest. Your will must surpass all others to change this world, and therefore make this world yours. Kaido told us that ultimately in the end, a strong devil fruit was not enough to conquer the 4 seas, that in order to become the Pirate King like Roger, Haki matters the most. For Roger, who had no devil fruit, was able to bring the world to heal, was able to make the world call him king, with his Haki or willpower alone. So maybe to conquer the world like Imu Narona, to become the king of the world, Haki reigns supreme too. The Supreme King could also allude to the Pirate King or King of the World. After all, notice that the Abyss or Satanic Pentagram seal, or seals, appear to have some Haki-like energy coursing around them, as if Haki or will is involved in this strange power. The will of the devil Imu, the spirit of Imu. The will or desire of Imu has tremendous influence on world events. Can Imu will certain powers into being? Imu stated in one translation, so it really depends on the translation, that he desires Vivi. Desire is said to explain the existence of devil fruits, which are the sea devil's incarnations. And again, the Gorosei told us that the world bows to the will of the Creator. Only someone with a strong will, a very strong will, perhaps the strongest will of D carrier, can challenge Imu for the throne. Maybe that person is Monkey D. Luffy. But it's interesting to note that Luffy replied to Rayleigh when asked if he could conquer the seas and so the world. Luffy replied to Rayleigh that he, Luffy, had no desire to conquer anything. He simply wanted to be free, the freest man in the world. Not the strongest, not the smartest, nor the most wanted, just the freest. And it's worth noting that this is what a king is said to be, someone that follows no law or order. He is law unto himself. No one, not even the god of the One Piece world, can tell the Pirate King, or any true king, what to do with his life. By his own will, Luffy will live and die. So is a king defined by what he or she conquers, or by the inability to be conquered by anything or anyone? But as usual, we will have to wait and see. Don't forget to like the video, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe. You can also find me on Twitter at the following address at Vinland Ragnar. My Twitter page is on the screen. If you want to talk to me there, I'm always sure to respond. If you want to support future videos on this channel, you can check out my PayPal if you want to make a donation. And feel free to join my Patreon, where your paid monthly membership can get you early access, even exclusive access, to a new podcast I am starting called The Red Piece Podcast. The podcast will cover chapters, theories, and ideas from your favorite One Piece content creators. I've already uploaded 2 videos as a test, but the content is only going to improve from here on. As always, there is more to come. Until next time.